Finally, we did it.
Yes. Finally, both of us are here, and I am really looking forward to our conversation today, which is going to be all about you and the topic that we have chosen for today, joyful economy. So let's get started. And why don't you first tell us something about yourself? What is your story and how does joy feature into who Halina is?
Oh, the art of saying it in a few words. First of all, thank you for inviting me, and it is a joy to be here. My story is that for a great deal of my life, maybe the first 40 years, I felt not so joyful, but very lonely actually. And that forced me to, and this is really a long story, so I'm going to make it very short, but that forced me to, like whenever I tried to find love and joy outside of myself, it just didn't work out, not in any significant way. So it forced me to go inward and inward and inward. So I was on a personal growth and spiritual growth journey since I was 18. And eventually, and that was long before the internet, so it was a solo exploration. And eventually, it led me to the realization of how important self-love is, and that opened everything for me. And as I proceeded that way and came more and more home to myself, more and more joy was arising without me like trying to make myself joyful, or others for that sake, but there was more and more joy. And I've been, coaching and teaching people most of my life. And during that journey, at some point, people started telling me that working with them was also for them an experience of connecting more and more to their joy. So somehow it became more and more and more a theme, and the theme of my life, until a few years ago, where it came like boom, like really in front of me, and I realized that this is my work. It's to share what joy really is, and to support others in connecting to their joy, and bring joy in all aspects of their life, and support others in becoming sources of joy.
Wow, what a beautiful journey from looking for joy outside yourself to finding it within, and now helping other people find that joy within themselves.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. Talk to us a little bit about this transition from looking for joy outside of yourself to finding it inward.
Yeah, so, well, it started actually with looking for love, because joy is kind of the next step of it. And, I am a huge fan of how life arranges things for us without us really realizing it until afterwards. So when I was younger, I had this idea that if I found someone, the one and only, then they would love me, and then I would be happy. That's what most people believe, and I did too. So I was very busy finding that someone, and failed again and again and again. So every relationship I entered ended badly, and there was this. It was like hitting the wall all the time, and it was, today I can smile at it, but back then it was deeply painful to experience loss of love and loss of love and loss of love, and this question that kept like reverberating: why me? Why can I not have love? Why can I not find anyone? And there came a time, so it was like life was closing all the doors for me until I was alone in the room. And there were like two experiences. Well, there was one experience that was like I had a very intense experience of an awakening, you could say, where I was in deep pain and loneliness, and then something shifted within me, and all of a sudden I was in pure love and pure joy. And nothing in my circumstances changed. It happened within a second, and I'm meaning like literally a second. Like all of a sudden, the light was turned on, and it was immensely blissful and beautiful experience. And there was a lesson there for me. And the lesson was nothing changed in my circumstances in that second, but something within me shifted. And I could be in bliss from deep pain, deep despair, deep hopelessness and loneliness. I was in bliss and an experience of love and joy and oneness with the whole world. So it was like, maybe I knew it already in theory, but now I had the visceral experience that this is really true. It is somewhere within me. Nothing changed out there. And the experience didn't last. It rarely does, but it took me on a different search. It took me on a search, like, how can I get back to that experience? And it was back and forth, and I was still searching outside to some degree, because that's what we do as human beings. But then eventually, the doors kept being closed to other people. And then at some point, I had this big aha. Again, that was before internet, so I couldn't like look it up and go to the right Facebook group. But there was this big aha. If I can love myself the way I want others to love me, then I have found love. And that was true. That worked. So within a very short time, actually, I have found the source of love within me. And the beautiful thing that happened is that as soon as I found my peace and found my love and stopped searching, the doors started to open. So there came a soulmate, there came new kinds of friendships, there came music, all kinds of things started happening, because now I was at home with myself. So now I could connect with others too, but not for them to fulfill something that I should have found in myself, but just to share.
Wow, so beautiful, so beautiful. Yeah, we always have to find that love within ourselves, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
only then we can find it outside ourselves.
Absolutely. And it is so foundational, but it is not exactly what we learn at school. It is not what we learn in films. It's not what we learn in books. The story is always, if only you can find it out there, right? But that's not true. Yeah.
Halina, before we proceed, I want to share with you that we have a live audience here. We have Jill, who has joined us from Wales, and we also have Marion, who's joining us. And they're saying, Marion. Hello, Marion. Hello, Jill. Marion also says, at home with myself. That's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. So this was about love. Would you say that love and joy, well, tell us, how are they intricately correlated?
Yeah, so it's, there are some people that say that joy is a higher frequency of love, but the experience, I prefer to talk about experiences rather than theories, really. And my experience was that we know how love feels, right? We all do that. And joy feels differently. The way I started to experience it at some point more and more was that I was at this, nice self-loving space. And then there was like this experience of joy for no reason. So, and I also think that most of us have had it in glimpses at some point. That it's like, you're just feeling happy and nothing has happened out there. There's nothing. It's not because your children or your pets or your loved ones or your salary or anything. It's just, you have this, people often experience it in nature, that sense of wonder and just being joyful just because you're alive, in a way. So the more you are in a state of loving yourself, of accepting yourself, and that is not a state of perfection. That is just a state of saying, I love myself as I am, and I love others as they do the best I can. But the more there is that kind of peace, it's like then your energy can flow more freely. And then joy begins to flow. So it becomes more and more a sense of, I cannot even put it in word, but a sense of We see it in the eyes of babies often. I think that's why we're so crazy about babies. We go like, oh, what a sweet baby. They have it in their eyes, right? And I mean, they're just lying there. There's nothing really happening. And then children have that. And then we forget, we all have that, but then we forget. And it's that sense of wonder and joy and magic that comes back to us as we come home to ourselves. That's not a very precise answer, but right now it's the best way I can describe it. I really believe it's something that is within us from our birth, and then it's being pushed down, it's being forgotten, it's not being accepted. But then as we come home and relax, and then it kind of like begins to wake up more and more, and the sun begins to shine from within more and more.
Yeah, yeah. We start learning the ways of the world when we grow up, and after we have had certain experiences, we begin to unlearn those ways.
Absolutely, exactly. And I think there is also a sweet sense of surprise when that happens. And unlearning is such a perfect word. Thank you for bringing it in. It's because we have all these ideas of how we should be. We should be clever, and we should be skilled, and we should be this, and we should be that. And for a long time, perhaps, we have this expectation, once I am all these things, then I can be happy. And we have an idea of who we are. But as the unlearning happens, we are often surprised by who we really are, which may not be the role we have played, and not the skills we have had, and not the things we have been doing, but something, just the way we are. There's often a sense of simplicity to it, I feel. This is who I am. And then
That is so true. That is so true. All those identities that we acquire when we grow up and live the life that we are living, they may not really be congruent with who we really are.
Exactly. It's very freeing when we find out, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, in the story work that I do, Halina, this is a huge thing. And I like to say that every story that I've listened to, worked on, helped people with, is a story about coming home to ourselves.
Yeah.
Every single story. That's what my story is. That's what your story is. That's what everyone's story is, because that's how it pans out. There is so no essential. Other way in which it can go, possibly.
No, and that is so beautiful. Also because coming home is also, it's the wonderful feeling of coming home and aligning with what we are and who we are. But it's also founding our foundation. It's like finding, like, really, oh, this is the ground I stand on, and it's rock solid. This is really me. And then being able to, with our story, right, and with that sense of, this is who I am, this is my home, start bringing our gifts out to the world, right?
Yeah. It's about rooting ourselves in that set foundation, strong foundation. So let's talk a little bit about the joyful economy. What do you mean when you say joyful economy?
Yeah, that's a funny expression, isn't it? I have a friend that I remember first time I said it to her, she said, like, what? Because for most people it's like, joy is here and economy is there. It's like joy, money is like two different worlds. That's unfortunately the experience for most people in our world, is that joy is this inner state. It's wonderful and sweet, and money, that's limitation, that's trouble, that's hard work, that's resistance, etc., etc. And it doesn't have to be that way. So what joyful economy is that it is a way of bringing these two together, in the sense that and people have also this idea that there won't be joy in their economy until they have a lot of money, which isn't true at all. There are plenty of examples of people that have plenty of money that do not feel joy. These two things have, in a sense, nothing to do with each other. But when we bring them together, then we can bring the energy of joy. That's that unconditional feeling of wonder, of magic, of life is good, into our relationship with money. And relationship is really the key here, because we often think of money as a thing, but it's really a relationship. And it's a very intense and important relationship for most of us. And like with any relationship, it needs work and it needs dedication, it needs commitment. And when we bring joy and love into that relationship, it changes and it begins to be experienced in a very different way, and things become possible that may not have been possible before. So it's bringing these two things together.
Oh, wow. Wow. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to talk more about it, but I want to share with you that Jenny has joined us from South Africa.
Hi, Jenny. Wow.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi.
So we are talking about not separating joy, love, and money.
Mm-hmm.
We are saying we can have it all.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea.
Yeah, I think most people will.
I like the idea.
Yeah, because there's so much heaviness around money, right? It's like, oh, and it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. And again, the essence of it is that we can create a joyful economy at any level of our, financial abilities. And the interesting thing that happens is that just the fact that we bring joy and love and awareness into our relationship with money, just that is enough for it to transform, so that we feel better about what we have and what is there. It becomes less and less a burden and more a sense of freedom and joy. The interesting part is also that on top of that, the more we can do it, the more free our finances can flow. Actually, the energy flows more freely, and the financial situation can expand also. So it's and of course it doesn't happen overnight, and it is work, like every important relationship is, but there's a lot of potential there, I feel.
So what are some of the things we can do to start building that relationship? When you say bring love and joy in our relationship with money, tell us some of the how-to steps.
Yeah, so there are a lot of practices really around it, and there are some fundamental, like you could say, categories of practices. So it's important to have a practice around joy itself, so it becomes easier for us to connect with joy. And it's important to have, I believe it's important to have a spiritual practice. It is important to have a grounding practice, so a practice that helps us connect with our body and our physical world. And it is, and then there's like a whole really many different practices that specifically connect joy and money. And what it means is that it is about bringing a different kind of awareness when we relate to money. And the interesting part is, just to give you an example, when we think about money, just like we think, okay, money, yes. What we don't notice, most of us, is that we relate to money many times every day. Like if you walk down the street, there are monies everywhere. There are things, there are prices, there are reactions to things and to prices. People talk about money all the time once you start noticing, like, how are you? I'm good, Oh, nice dress, then the price comes. Like, we talk and see and connect with money all the time. And then there's, the checking the bank accounts, etc., etc. In all these situations, so there are different practices that we can bring into all these situations. And one very simple practice is to bring the feeling of joy into it. So again, it requires that we have a good connection with joy, and that can be developed. But once we do it, we can simply bring that practice, because most of the time we just, for example, we give money, we receive money, and perhaps there is some worry, perhaps there is some counting, perhaps there is some fear, but it's more or less like unconscious for many people. But the practice could be, I bring joy into that. For example, as I pay for my groceries, I bring joy into that. I bring joy into the feeling of giving money. I bring joy to the person that receives the money. I bring joy to the shop where I am. Like, keep letting that joyful energy flow. And the same when you receive money, you can just say, oh, I found, I got £5 or something, or you can bring joy and say, wow, this is a joyful experience. And that can be that one practice. If you can bring joy into every interaction with money, which we can't, because again we forget all the time, but many more situations than we would usually do. That in itself transforms so much. When you think about it, again, most people worry about money. They either worry or they kind of don't relate to it all. And at the same time, there's money everywhere. So the more joy we can bring into these experiences, then we start experiencing there's joy everywhere, right? You give money, wow, joyful feeling. You receive money, joyful feeling. You pay a bill, joyful feeling. You get a new client, joyful feeling. You walk down the street and see beautiful, expensive things, or not expensive things, joyful feeling, right? So. And again, that energy of joy and love, it's not just that it's a nice thing. It's not just like, chocolate, right? It's a spiritual connecting energy that serves us in so many ways and serves the people that are around us. So it's a very powerful thing to do, actually. just because of that, and there's more to it.
Oh, I experienced this a few days ago, and what really happened was somebody must have gone to my website and they picked up a £7 product, a story template. And so out of those £7, Stripe took its commission. And I got a notification from Stripe that £6.6 are on their way to my bank account. Now, this happened in the middle of promoting a high-ticket coaching program, which is starting in November. Now, if I were to process the £6.6 is coming into my bank, based on how I was a few years ago, I would have said,
exactly, yeah.
6.6, what is £6.6? Amidst when you're promoting a high-ticket coaching program. But you know what? I was so happy that day. I said, oh, somebody went in and somebody bought a story template and they're going to write stories more effectively and da-da-da-da-da. And then I said, oh, 6.6 in bank is better than 0 in bank. And I was just so happy about it. And then I went back to doing whatever I was doing, writing about my program, talking to people about it, etc., etc. So yes, enjoying every bit of money makes a lot of sense to me. Yes,
absolutely. And that brings to me this whole thing about what abundance is. So most people, when I ask them, what is abundance, they think of something in the future. They think, oh, it is when I get the house and, 3 high-ticket clients, etc., or 10 or 20, or it's something unattainable here and now. And that's not true. Abundance is, first and foremost, it's a feeling, it's a realization that life is full of possibility and that the possibility is happening right now. And that everything is an expression of abundance. We know that when we're in nature, like if let's go say that we walk through the woods, there we see abundance all the time. We don't say, oh, it's just trees or just leaves. It's just this feeling of abundant growth, like everywhere and in all ways. There's nothing there that feels too small or wrong. Everything is part of it. when we live our lives, most people feel limitation all the time. So there's this feeling, and it's a feeling that is a burden on our shoulders. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough things. I don't earn enough. I don't do enough. I don't, there's always the limitation. But as we start working with bringing joy and economy and abundance into the same field, the experience changes exactly the way as you described. Every amount feels like abundance. Everything feels like abundance. So from going to, I haven't enough, life is a struggle, and that heavy feeling, that feeling that I don't have enough and I'm not enough. There's more and more the feeling that there's abundance everywhere. I have more than enough, and in that I am enough. And then we become different. We become more generous. We become more happy. Everything begins to flow differently because there's a sense of abundance and not limitation. And has nothing to do with whether it's a small number or a big number, right?
Yeah, that is true.
Mm.
That is true. Yeah, but so many of us get caught up in that whole cycle that we would be happy when we achieve one of those goals.
Mm.
And there's no judgment when I say this, because I've been there. I still get caught up in what I don't have. But if we can focus on what we have and then take action, it's just an easier way and more joyful way to live.
Absolutely, it's so freeing, and sometimes it also helps to remember, because, and I don't want to say it, I don't want it to be misunderstood, but because I'm not saying that having a lot of money is wrong. No, I mean, I believe we are all different, and for some it's wonderful to have a huge economy, or for some it's wonderful to have a small one. It can be joyful regardless of the size of it. And that said, I remember I saw an interview on YouTube, a conversation between Oprah and J.K. Rowling, so the author of Harry Potter, so two hugely wealthy women.
Mm.
And they were talking with billions of dollars to their name. And they were talking about the fear around money, fear of losing it. And I thought, well, I admired the openness and the vulnerability around it. And I also thought, wow, looks like I'm more free than they are. And feeling more safe than they are. Or maybe they used to, hopefully they did some work around that too. But it's really a reminder that it is such an illusion, that there is, that we cannot be in joy, in fulfillment, and abundance unless something happens. It really is the other way around, and it is so freeing, right?
Yeah, I find that when we attach our joy to our goals, we set ourselves up for trouble, really. Because the trouble with this approach is, and I'm somebody who has built a career on helping people achieve their goals, Halina. So
you know what you're talking about, definitely.
It's funny that I make such a statement, but the problem is, when we are focused on goals and then we say, oh, I'm going to be happy when that happens, the problem with it is that those goals keep changing. And the fact that the goals keep changing is a great thing, because that means we are evolving, we are developing, we are moving towards the next big thing. But that also means that when I reach A, then okay, A becomes my new normal, then I want B, and then B becomes my new normal, then I want C. And if I'm always waiting to be happy when I get to A or B or C, that would just never happen. Because when I get there, then I want something else. So I have to learn to be happy now, and then get to A, and then to B, and then to C.
Yes, that is so true. That is so true. And it also reminds me of something else about around joy, which is, and I wonder if you've seen that in your work with clients, is that when our goals, uh, it's around the same things we talked about before with, who am I really, and what is my work really, what is my goal really, is when we set goals that are not in alignment with who we are, with what feels like our purpose, then this misalignment that you just described happens even more, that we keep on going after the next goal, and we are like more and more off track. But the more, in my experience, the more our goals are based on who we really are and the gifts that really are ours, and what really really long to do in this world, the more joy comes with it. And it has not something to do with us achieving these goals, but just the feeling of, this is who I am, this is what I want to bring to the world, this is my work. Have you seen that too with your work or with your clients?
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was recently speaking to somebody, and they said they were talking about setting up a coaching business. And this person said, but I haven't arrived there. I haven't done the things that I want to do, and haven't become the successful big coach in the industry. I have only started and taken a few steps, and they were feeling very down, very low about it. And I said to them, hold on. And we are talking in the context of story and inspiring, that was the context. And I said to them, hold on. If you were to share your story from the point where you are at, how hugely inspiring would it be to people who have not even had the courage or the opportunity to take those steps and start what you have started. And that was something they hadn't considered, because their success and their joy and their arriving was attached to that big number. When whatever that number would happen, whenever those number of clients would happen. But the fact is that because they had already taken those initial steps and they were following their passion and they were building the business, I would say that was huge success in itself. Because so many people just don't have the courage to do that, or the opportunity, or the freedom to be able to take that action. Absolutely.
And it's that is so true. I can really feel that. And what a gift to have someone like you to like, hey, this way.
Hold on.
Yeah, really, it's so freeing. And and I know that you know everything about it, how our stories, it's really not our stories of success that are the most inspiring, in a sense. I see it when I work with clients. I see all the time. Let's just talk about joyful economy, because that is the topic. If I was just like, if I had what the world regards as a fantastic economy from day one and until now, and everything flowing, that would be so worthless. I mean, because people could say, and I've seen that with others people, I thought like, yeah, easy for you to say. But when I can say to them, yeah, there were times in my life where I had so much money, I didn't know what to do with that. And that was a problem. And I can say, yeah, I've been on welfare at some point. Yeah, I've been in big debt. Yeah, I didn't know how to pay my rent at some point in my life. And then I discovered this, and then I had this experience, and then I did have this, and life has shown me, life has taken me from story to story, so to speak, and has shown me this is a solid path. This is how it works. People can relate to that. Oh, so this is not just some genius that has it all worked out. This is someone that is like me, right? Absolutely. And if she can have a joyful economy, I can too.
Yeah. That is so true. That is so true. I always like to say that when we share our story, people find threads of their own stories in our story. And that's how stories really connect us with other people, because we may not have the exact same experience, but we would understand that feeling or that experience in a different way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is, it's so powerful. I am, I love the way you work with stories, and also, in a way, I don't know, it just strikes me right now, like how much it means. I know it means something to me, I'm sure to others also, like the stories we read in books, the stories we see in films. There's something that deeply inspires us. And we have those stories for each other. And in a way, people don't share so much, in a way that it's always, it's more like, then this happened, then this happened, then that was said, then that was said. But many people don't really share the gift of the story that they have within them, right?
That is true. That is true. That is so true.
But now it's coming.
Yes, I would say more and more people are waking up to the power of finding their own stories and sharing those stories with the world. Because and it's not just in a very business context, although I would say storytelling has become a buzzword in business and even in the corporate world.
True.
But people are just waking up to how powerful this work is.
Absolutely. And it's funny because it just occurred to me, speaking of economy and joyful economy, it's an area of life where there's so much taboo. There's so much shame. There's so much secrecy. There's so many ideas of, I'm doing this wrong, I'm doing that wrong. Others do this, others do that. There's so many ideas about what the right and wrong economy is. And it just occurs to me that in this moment, because we talk about sharing stories and being open about it, that this is important too, to be open first in our own relationship with money, to understand what was my story, what is my story of the relationship, but also perhaps in our communication, I don't know, to be able to share the stories of our relationship with money, not as a way to measure ourselves, but just as a way of sharing our journey, because our relationship with money is an amazing journey in many ways. It's a very transformational journey, or can be, really. It can be a wonderful gift in life when we start seeing it. So seeing those stories and sharing those stories can be very powerful, actually.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Halina. I would say when I worked on my relationship with money, that was, well, actually, when I worked on myself, my relationship with money transformed as well.
Yeah. Definitely. It's amazing. Life is beautiful.
It is. It's just that we acquire so many unhelpful stories about everything, really. And that includes joy, that includes love, that includes money. I grew up with one of these ideas that rich people are jerks.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But if I look back and if I think of the people that were being talked about when this statement was made, I would say those people were jerks anyway. And money had very little to do with how they were behaving. But when we are little, it's hard to differentiate between ideas, between what is and what we think is.
Yeah, definitely. I also like to, because we are aware of, the stories of our life and learning how to share them. I love the idea of and I really see our lives as a book, as a story in itself from start to finish. And I am absolutely amazed at the way it unfolds. Like whoever you really talk with and then see how beautifully life story unfolds. And like in every good book, there are huge challenges. There are amazing gifts. There are tons of surprises, some wonderful and some scary. And along the way, like with every good story, we find gifts. And the further we get into the story, the more we get to use those gifts, right? And we are a story, really. We are a story in unfoldment. Yeah. Well, maybe I get a little bit too philosophical now, but there's such a beauty to it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's not philosophy that we can't relate to. It's a very special kind of story, our life, because we get to play the protagonist, and we also get to write it. We also get to direct it. So we play all the roles.
Absolutely.
And that is why it is such a gift.
It really is. It really is. Yeah.
So tell us, Halina, are you working on something special at the moment?
Well, I'm always working on something special, aren't we? The further we go in that story, the more we work. Yes, thank you. I am. So there are several things, but one of the things that I'm working on, and that kind of had a milestone yesterday evening, is a joyful economy course. So there has been a course for a while now, but it was like a pilot. So it was I invited a group of people to explore these ideas with me and to find how can I teach them. And it's been a great journey to see, how was it possible? How did I mess up in terms of, teaching? And from there, I found a way to do it that really can take people more like step by step. So I just released, like literally yesterday evening, the first course that's called Joyful Economy, and that's a self-study course. Yeah, that's a wonderful feeling. And then there is the next course is called Joyful Manifestation, which is about co-creation. So it's taking things to the next level. And there's also a coaching group. So that it's, for some people, it's fine to just have the self-study course. And for some people, it's possible to participate in the coaching group. But that means that we have a Facebook group where we go deeper, where there's new tools and exercises every week. There are monthly group sessions. So that's more transformational work, where the Joyful Economy courses, it's more like it's education, and you get the practices, but you're kind of on your own, and it's absolutely possible. But with the group, you get my support and support from the group. So that's part of my work that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, very exciting. How long is this coaching program?
The coaching program is ongoing, actually, because that's very individual. How people come with different backgrounds. So, and the teaching program is the Joyful Economy. I think it's 10 lessons, and some of them you take every day, and some you take every week, because there are some things you do in between. So that takes maybe 6 weeks or something like that. And then you continue with the practices. But the program, people can jump in and then find out how long they need it. And most people stay for quite a while, because this thing with Joyful Economy is that, like with every relationship, you can go deeper and deeper and deeper and unfold it more and more. You don't have to, but you can. So that's very individual, also depending on where people come from. But it's a recurring program, so they can start and then stop anytime they want.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. So if you were to share one big message with our audience, Halina, what would that be?
That it's all within you. And that sounds kind of cliche, but when we live it, it stops being a cliche, and then it becomes an amazing force and an amazing gift. And what it means that is that the joy is within us already, the love is within us already, the abundance is within us already, and there is really nothing that can stop us from getting in touch with that if we want to. It takes work, it takes commitment, but it's there. And that is a huge sense of freedom in that, huge sense of freedom. And yeah, well, don't get me started. Yes.
Okay, so tell us, how can people get in touch with you and how they can subscribe to your program?
Well, thank you. It's I'm here on Facebook, so I imagine you will tag me in this, so they can easily find me. There's also a website that's called halinagold.com. And there, you know, from there is a link to my services. I can include the link to the website. So there are, of course, also some free resources. There's a free ebook on how to find joy in your life, how to develop that connection. So, but I'm right there on social media too. So.
Yeah, we can't miss you.
No, it's our world today, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, when we finish, if you could just drop all the links underneath this video in the group, that'll be great.
Certainly, I will do that. My pleasure, definitely.
Brilliant. Halina, thank you so much for coming and talking to us. I loved our conversation.
Thank you,